And on this day and every day, we continue to honor the ones that paid the ultimate sacrifice to our country, and of course, the ones that were heroes on that day. And September 11th, now 23 years ago, and we will continue to never forget that day when terror came into New York and other areas of our country and left devastating impacts. But my next guest here on Live Now from Fox, this is someone I've been waiting to talk to. It's a great honor to have you here, Maureen Santora, who unfortunately lost her son, a brave firefighter, that day on 9/11. Thank you so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you very much, Mike. I'm honored to be with you today.
And first off, let's just get a sense of what was your son, Christopher, like? If you just want to tell that to the viewers and just explain a little bit about him.
Well, Christopher was 23 when he died, and he was a teacher in the New York City public school system for about a year before he became a firefighter, which was his lifetime dream. He was very intelligent. He was an American history buff. And he was just very proud to be a firefighter. He had lots of interests. He was avid sports person, competitive, but he was a person that had a kind heart, and he was generous in every way. I miss him a lot.
And I so bet on not only this day, but also even when September starts to roll around and you get into the month, you have to be thinking just how it's just been another year without him.
Well, it's interesting because you don't think about it, like in November and December or January. I mean, I think about him every day. But around the end of August and the beginning of September, I get this pit in my stomach, and I say, oh my goodness, September 11th is coming, and it's a public day, and it's we will relive what happened in this coming year. So this year, it's a tough year for us because Christopher will be dead as long as he was alive. He was 23, and so it'll be especially hard. But every year is hard, and for every single family member who lost somebody, it's very hard. It's a very hard day. We've never kind of moved on, as people say, or gotten closure. I was lucky to have gotten my son back, and it was an accident that happened because he was buried in somebody else's grave. And then, the medical examiner, came forth and told us, so I have a place to go, but there are 1,100 people who have no place to go. So it's a very tough year, a tough time of the year.
No, yeah, I can't even imagine, and that wound just never does heal. And when I was reading about his story, I thought it was so remarkable and courage of him on that day. He just wrapped up his shift and then got called back to go into really the hell that was there in New York.
That's correct. He was supposed to get off at 9:00, but the engine company was called just before to go down to the area, and so he was still actively at work. And all 15 men from Engine 54, Ladder 4, Battalion 9 lost their lives that day. It was a bigger loss in a single firehouse than any other firehouse in the city. So it was catastrophic to the firehouse and to all of us, of course.
And could I ask you when that day happened and when it went into the afternoon hours, when did you hear of the untimely passing?
Well, around 9:20, we got a call from his lieutenant asking that he come back to work. And we said, well, he's not been home. We live very close to the city, and we live in an area in Astoria, right across the bridge, 59th Street Bridge. So he'd be home in 15 minutes or so, from where the firehouse was. And when we said he was not home, there was dead silence on the phone. And my husband, who was a deputy chief for 40 years in the fire department, knew there that he was down at the site. And the day was chaotic. Nobody had any information. Nobody knew what was going on. Al went down to the site later in the day to look for the truck and all of this, and he found the truck, but he didn't find anything but tremendous debris and dust and, paper everywhere. So it was very chaotic. And I thought he was going to come home. I did. I thought he was going to come home. I thought he had escaped. And, I had no knowledge of what was going to happen.
And throughout the years, and I'm sure that you've heard stories and met with others that have lost loved ones on 9/11, and every story is unique. And you helped put together some of those memories in a book.
Yes, I did. I wanted children, to learn about 9/11, and unfortunately, to this date, there is no curriculum in New York City or New York State on 9/11. It is up to individual teachers to discuss the day. But I wanted students to have knowledge of some of the people who died. So I sent out an email to the various, 9/11 groups, and I asked families if they were willing to write about their loved ones as they were growing up. So I only included parents and siblings and best friends who knew these people as they were younger. And I mentioned they had to talk about them being at the World Trade Center and the day itself. But the stories are really remarkable because everybody wrote in their own words. Everybody wrote from their own heart. The similarities of the stories are that all of these individuals were very special. They were kind. They were generous. They were loving. They had families that loved them and friends that loved them. And I wanted kids to know that. And I wanted kids to know that, when you grow up, not everything is perfect, and you're not perfect. And it's okay not to be perfect as you're going through middle and high school and college even. But if you have a dream and you have a support family and you have people that love you, you turn out just great. And these people just turned out great, even though their lives were shortened by this hatred.
Yeah, it's remarkable to hear the stories of, while everyone is so different and unique, their time and place at that moment where they were together for unspeakable tragedies. When you take a look at the videos and how it was replayed over and over that day, and we continue to see it now, and to think of just how many years have gone by already, and those lives are frozen in time now.
That's correct. I can only think about my son as being 23. I can't imagine what he would be like, He would have been, this year, he would have been 47, but I can't imagine him being anything other than 23. And so he will always forever be 23 in my heart. And my daughters feel the same way. And now they are older, than their brother, but they still remember. My grandchildren think they know him because we talk about him all the time. So they were not alive, but they think, so the memory of speaking about these extraordinary people who were just going to work. They were not doing anything wrong. They were trying to support their families. They were not, filled with hatred or, venom. And they were killed because they were Americans. And, it's a very terrible thing. Hatred is a permeating cancer in our society, and we really need to work very hard at this, very hard. So I wanted kids to know that as well.
That's so true. And, it's hard to believe it, too, that there's children, so many now, that, of course, weren't alive during September 11th. And for you to have those memories and kind of share them with everyone else, to let them know what it was like on that day for so many of the loved ones that never got to come home. I have to ask you, too, Maureen, after 9/11 and the months after, we saw the country really come together, and it felt like, how many times did we see so many neighborhoods just filled with flags, and people were holding flags. And now it seems like from that moment to now, it has shifted again, where it seems in many ways that we haven't forgotten, but we maybe aren't as strong as we were right after 9/11. How do you feel about that?
Well, I agree with you 100%. After 9/11, on every side, everybody was an American. Everybody was proud to be an American. Everybody was happy, to be part of the journey of all those who had lost, but also, the cities and it was just a phenomenal time of kindness, generosity, compassion. And we've gone very, very far away from that. And we have this vitriol and hatred and wanting to harm others physically is something that I think is absolutely unforgivable. I don't know how, we're going to turn this around, but we have to do something. We have to, be proactive in demonstrating kindness ourselves. And we have to be tolerant and we have to be forgiving, which is the hardest of all. I have to say, the hardest of all. But if you don't forgive, you can never move on. And you can never go to the next part of your life, wherever that life may be. Each day is very special. So, my son used to say, don't sweat the small stuff, Ma. Don't, get crazy about little things. Focus on the big picture. And I think we need to do much more of that.
That's such beautifully said. And Maureen, lastly, how have you been able to, throughout the years, just continue on and bringing his legacy and his name in great honor? You started a scholarship memorial.
Yes, we did. And for the last 23 years, we've been able to give college scholarships to students based upon an essay. And I have a website, santorafund.org, that anybody who wants to contribute, it's now dependent upon, contributions. And we donate every year as well, but we can't give the, amount of money that we would like, So I hope listeners will, take a look at the website. But students are given an essay. And I have 5 judges who I've had for 23 years who judge the essays anonymously. There's nothing about the person that is identified in the essay. It's simply the words, and I have a rubric, and they've judged the essay. It's always based on history because our son was a history buff. So it's either current events, and it's an open end. There's no right or wrong, answer to our essay. And many of the students are not the top students, but they've written most passionately, and the judges see that in their writing. And when they add up the scores, I get them back, and then the highest scores are the winners. And that's, we have 3 winners this year that are off to college. They're in college now, and we have winners from last year. And it's a 4-year scholarship where they get $2,000 each year. So it's an $8,000 scholarship in total if they stay in school.
Beautiful.
And as a teacher, I had to make sure, that they stayed in school. So.
Oh, sure. And tell the viewers one more time where they can go for more information on that.
Well, for the scholarship, it's santorafund.org, and for the books, I wrote 3 books, but the We Remember is on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and then 3 Wings, ewings.com is the publisher who's redid the book. And so I'm very proud of the new additions that we added on to it. So it's joyful for me, that this is continuing and that you're helping students learn. And I wish that we had a curriculum that would help them all learn across the nation. And it should be a national curriculum where you talk about what happened and what hatred did. And maybe that would change the tide. Maybe that.
Yeah, I mean, really, really, really should. And Maureen, thank you again for coming on. It's such a painful day for you and other families, but thank you for sharing your memories of Christopher. And I always like to say they're not gone, they're just waiting for us.
Absolutely, and I believe that's true. I believe I'm going to see him again, and he's around me all the time, so I know that for sure. Thank you very much, Mike, for having me on. I appreciate it.